Bring you here on CBS Sports HQ. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill's season is officially done. Head coach Mike McDaniel confirming the news that he suffered a knee dislocation as well as several torn ligaments in his knee. He is currently in surgery as well, fixing that knee. So his season officially done. Leaves a lot of questions for the Dolphins offense, a team that just picked up their first win last night. And no one better to break down the vibes in Miami than our Miami Mike Cugno, joining us from Miami Gardens. And Mike, we know Mike McDaniel just wrapped up his press conference. What more can you tell us about the Dolphins and this injury to Tyreek Hill?
Well, you mentioned the vibes, and obviously in a win you'd think they'd be high, especially for a team that went 0-3 to start the year, but obviously a little sobering considering how gruesome that knee injury was. Yeah, Mike McDaniel just finished wrapping up his Tuesday press conference here with reporters, and he told us this is a serious knee surgery he is undergoing. He's there right now. I asked Mike McDaniel, is this something, considering how gruesome and how ugly and the scope of the damage was it something that needed multiple surgeries? He said right now that's unclear. They're not sure if that's the case, but it hasn't been communicated to him yet. That's what it would be. And the other thing is the timeline for Tyreek Hill. That's also unclear. It's a guy who's going to be 32 years old next season. Obviously, his entire skill set predicated on that speed and cutting ability. They're not going to have that obviously this year, so that's going to change the dynamic of not just the Dolphins offense, but if and when Tyreek Hill were to ever come back, how does that change the dynamic of him as a player, considering how gnarly that injury was last night? They have to move forward now, the Dolphins, without their big deep threat, their big speed threat on that offense.
It was positive to see, he was smiling. He threw up the peace sign as he was being carted off. We also saw the social media post as well. It seems like he's in good spirits, barring, like you said, it was a terrible, gruesome injury. But you kind of talked about it there, Mike. It leaves a lot of questions for what this offense is going to look like going forward. We kind of saw them leaning on the run last night with Achane and even Ollie Gordon getting going. We're also seeing our Jonathan Jones is saying there's some potential interest in Cedric Wilson, a guy who spent time as well with the Dolphins. And so when you think about this offense without Tyreek, Mike, where does this team go?
Well, I think, at times, Haley, this team and this offense has been really successful finding their way into the end zone when they've been able to spread the ball around. So that could be a pathway to success. Mike McDaniel mentioned that maybe a kind of a silver lining in all this that was Tyreek Hill missed much of training camp this year, so the offense was forced to work in different guys throughout the summer, and so they have gotten reps in the offense without him there. You mentioned Achane. Here's a guy who gets about 100 all-purpose yards per game when he's out there on the field for the Dolphins, so he's obviously a serious weapon. They still have Jalen Waddle, who has come up with big catches time and time again for this team this year. And let's not leave out a guy and second-year player, Malik Washington. Talking to coaches and players the last 2 years about this guy, they trust him. They said he came into the league with a professional mentality. Mike McDaniel has even compared him to Deebo Samuel, the way they use him in this offense. He's very much a Swiss Army knife, not just catching the ball, but he can run out of the backfield as well. So this Dolphins offense obviously going to change. The way defenses guard them will change, but throw in the wrinkle of Darren Waller, who made his big debut last night. He had 3 catches. 1 goes for a first down. The other 2 go for touchdowns. That's a pretty good ratio right there of success. So the Dolphins offense, not devoid of options here, but they will look different considering Tyreek isn't in.
Yeah, that was Darren Waller's first game since January? So obviously they got some big production from him. And you mentioned it off the top here, Mike. They did win the football game. Let's not let that get lost in the sauce here. They pick up their first win, albeit it was against a Jets team that needs some work. But when you look at the schedule going forward, they've got the Panthers coming up on Sunday, a team that has not looked consistently good through the first 5 weeks of the season. How much is that game, and maybe as you look ahead on the schedule, how much confidence do you think they can build without Tyreek in this first game that'll kind of carry over for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I know a lot of people look at it's just the Panthers, but that is a professional NFL team out there on the other side. I think this means a lot. If they can go out there and function as an offense and prove that they can put up points and move the ball without Tyreek Hill, or even just the threat of Tyreek Hill. Because remember, his numbers have been in decline the last couple of years, but defenses still have to respect the fact that he's out there on the field. So with that threat out there, can the Dolphins prove that they can move the ball? And it's interesting. they did continue to move the ball when Tyreek Hill went out last night. They were able to find the end zone 2 more times after the injury. They can certainly pull from that. Again, the options of Darren Waller adds a little wrinkle, and then Ollie Gordon, rookie running back, can stabilize that run game so it's not just on Devon Achane. There's a little thunder lightning mix in there as well, because Ollie Gordon is a tough runner. So can they find something there? And of course, the offensive line has to stay healthy. They've already had more than half a dozen guys start at positions all across that line, particularly the right side to his blind side. So that offense still needs work. So can they go out and prove it against the Panthers, then against a team like the Chargers and the Browns down the stretch of the next few games here? They can certainly stack up wins, but that game against the Panthers, kind of like a litmus test, kind of measuring stick game for them to see where this offense is at and how it functions without Hill.
You talked about Ollie Gordon. He had a big game against the Buffalo Bills, who the Dolphins will face in, about 5 weeks. So they are kind of counting down to getting their revenge there. Mike Cugno staying on top of all of the things in South Florida. We appreciate the time, Mike, keeping us up to date with Tyreek Hill and the latest with his injury.
This is something that, I think it was alluded to last night. But, the nature of this offseason in particular kind of forced our hand. With working forward without him, not just his energy, but you're trying to facilitate offense and utilize a lot of other players. There's a lot of guys that contribute on the team. Yeah, you're exactly right. You don't just copy paste or say, hey, it's one human being. It's not that. However, it's a combination of various individuals, not just in the receiver room, that, I think, need to continue to develop and now have a heightened sense of urgency so that we can, spread the ball around and make up for his production.
And here on the desk, Amanda Guerra, Haley Sutton, Lige Douzable, Pete Prisco. None of us surprised by that news. There's so many ways to look at this. I mean, just his recovery, but let's start there. Mike McDaniel talking about the sense of urgency with the Dolphins right now in order to replace his production. Pete, where do you stand right now on all of this?
It's a damning blow to their offense. I mean, he's one of the great playmakers in this league, and he's, puts the fear of God in every defensive coach and every defensive player on the field. So
for sure.
You take that out of the equation, it changes who you are offensively. And so they're going to have a real challenge to compensate for that. The best news out of this, and I said this earlier, is that there hasn't been any reports of nerve damage in his leg. And that's important, because if there was nerve damage, that could be a long-term thing for him. As it is right now, it's going to be a challenge at his age to come back and be who he is, but he can. If there was nerve damage, it would be a real strong possibility that he might not be able to come back. So that's the best news from the Dolphins' standpoint. It's just a damning blow to your offense.
Gutted for Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. The last 2 weeks, we kind of seen them have that connection that we're so accustomed to seeing in past seasons, right? 100 yards versus the Buffalo Bills. He was unguardable the first half versus the New York Jets, and then to go out with that injury, it's tough. You heard Mike McDaniel. Other guys are going to have to step up. Jalen Waddle had a really good training camp. And when I went out to Dolphins practice, he essentially had become the #1 guy. We saw Darren Waller get involved in that game early on third down and then twice in the red zone. Other guys are going to have to step up. But most importantly, I think the most important thing that they did last night, Pete, was run the football. Devon Achane was major for the Dolphins, and they're going to have to be probably a one-centric team now with Tyreek Hill not being there now. Again, Jalen Waddle and other guys are going to have to step up. Malik Washington is another guy that's kind of stepped up into that third receiver role as well. And you see the numbers so far for the pass catchers this season. But it's a damning blow just because of what Pete said. The fear of God that he puts in defenders and also defensive coordinators. You have to almost play two high safeties, which opens up the run game. So it's a major loss for the Miami Dolphins.
Pete, you talked about the nerve damage. According to reports, it says relative to him and the nerve damage, not heard any bad news, dislocated knee, ACL, multiple ligaments, so of course everything around there. Do you make any moves? I mean, we still have the trade deadline coming up. I mean, if you're them, are you looking to make any moves or just have your guys kind of step up?
I don't think this is a team making moves because I don't think this is a team that's going to go anywhere.
I will say that we've had a couple of reports that they're trying to bring back Cedric Wilson. JJ did tweet that.
That's not making a move.
Well,
you meant trading for somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I could see them bringing somebody like that back, absolutely. But to go out and get a veteran or somebody off another roster, give up
Given where they
assets,
are.
no.
Gotcha.
No way. I think this is a team that needs their draft picks kind of after the season, depending on what's happened. And you're probably going to have a new GM. You're probably going to have a new coach. You might have a new quarterback. And so I think you're going to have to retool, and you're going to need those draft picks.
When you look at it, though, the schedule kind of lightens up for them, Pete. There's a scenario now. Again, I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but there's a real scenario. This team could go like 8-9, 9-8. Does that save Mike McDaniel's job if they go 9-8 and don't make the playoffs?
Without Tyreek Hill, it might.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it lightens up, and that's why I said
But it
they're going to
lightens
have
up
to be.
if you're a good team. Are they a good team?
No, not right now. They're not. But I love what I saw from them on offense. Now, again, a lot of that had to do with Tyreek Hill before the injury, but getting Darren Waller back, and it's weird, Pete. Like, it's almost like he found the fountain of youth. The way he was able to run off the line of scrimmage, like a guy that hasn't played in over a year, I was really surprised to see how involved he was in that game last night.
By the way, you said that schedule lightens up.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can put that up again, okay, it lightens up this week because they play Carolina, who's
Yeah.
awful. But then it doesn't lighten up for a while after that.
There you go.
They got the Chargers
Browns?
at the Browns. That's an easy game for Miami.
I mean, it's
against
good
that
defense, but their offense hasn't
the
shown
Falcons
anything.
Versus the Ravens, versus the Bills.
The Ravens might be
versus the
the
Commanders.
Ravens game might be a good game for them too right now.
If he by the bye week, it might be bye. I mean, let's
But
be
then you
real.
look at the back half: Saints, Jets, Steelers, Bengals.
Right, but they might not make it to the back end of that schedule, but based on what's happening here.
Look,
How
either
many-
way, do you agree with Pete, though, that we're going to see a much different Miami Dolphins team?
Oh, without a
next
doubt. I mean,
season
Tyreek
and
Hill
over the
literally
course of the
makes
offseason?
defenses
No, I mean in
change.
regards to coaching changes.
Oh, if
quarterback
it
changes,
goes
yada,
awry,
yada.
that's why I brought up that conversation, man. I said if things go, okay for them and they go 9-8, could he retain his job without Tyreek Hill? That'd be something that ownership would have to make a decision on. I think they would maybe retain him because Tyreek Hill is that important on the offense.
You
I
really,
know, what
you
is
really
that?
think that team's going 9-8 with that schedule?
There's a chance they go 9-8.
Come on, Lise.
There's a chance.
No
Positive
chance.
Tuesday for
Yeah, I was
He
going to say.
He
Positive
is. You're
Tuesday.
I'm
really
just saying
fine.
they win next week, 2-3. They beat the Jets, the Bengals. The Ravens are beat up right now. What if they beat all those teams?
They're not beating all those teams, and you know that better than anybody.
We'll leave
That's
it
not a
there.
good team.
We'll
They
revisit
beat the
that
Jets
maybe
already,
in
so I don't
3
know
weeks.
anything. They definitely just
On
beat
the
them.
road, though.